Commander Vextai's 6 eyes studied the swirling holographic display with practiced indifference. The blue-green planet rotated slowly before him, its white cloud formations dancing across continents he couldn't be bothered to name. Sol 3, as the database labeled it, was just another routine survey in an endless catalogue of primitive worlds scattered throughout this spiral arm of the galaxy. The bridge of the Zephyrian surveillance vessel hummed with quiet efficiency. Crystalline. Control surfaces pulsed with bioluminescent data streams, while his crew of 12 operated their stations with the methodical precision of a species that had been mapping the galaxy for over 1 million rotations. Their ship, sleek and organic in design, drifted silently beyond the detection range of the planet's crude electromagnetic sensors. "Commander, the behavioral analysis is fascinating," Mordun announced, his primary manipulator appendages dancing across the neural interface. The young analyst's enthusiasm always amused Vextai. After 5 centuries of cataloguing primitive species, very little qualified as fascinating anymore. These humans display remarkable diversity in their social structures. They've developed over 200 distinct territorial divisions, each with unique cultural expressions. Vextai's mandibles clicked dismissively. "Cultural diversity among primitives is hardly unusual, analyst. What matters is their technological progression and potential threat level." The holographic display shifted, showing crude metal constructs orbiting the planet. Mordun's excitement was palpable as he highlighted various structures. "They've established permanent orbital habitats, Commander. 17 space stations of varying complexity, plus over 8,000 artificial satellites. For communication and observation purposes. Impressive for a Class 7 civilization," Vextai admitted grudgingly. "But hardly threatening. These orbital installations are primitive metal shells, vulnerable to even basic plasma weapons. Their propulsion systems rely on chemical combustion for atmospheric escape and simple ion drives for orbital maneuvering." Far below on the planet's surface, Dr. Kim Hana pushed her glasses up her nose as she reviewed the latest deep space telemetry data. The Seoul Defense Ministry's Xenobiology Department occupied 3 floors of a gleaming tower that rose above the Han River. Through her office window, she could see the lights of 10 million people going about their daily lives, completely unaware that humanity might not be alone in the universe. Her computer screen displayed radio telescope readings from the Arecibo facility, electromagnetic anomalies that didn't match any known natural phenomena. For 12 years, she had been documenting these irregularities, building a case that something intelligent was observing Earth from beyond the solar system. Her published papers had been met with polite dismissal from the scientific community. "Dr. Kim, you have a visitor," her assistant announced over the intercom. Defense Minister Park Seo-ho entered her office, his expression serious. "Hana, I've been reading your latest report about the surveillance patterns. The frequency analysis you've compiled is troubling." Kim Hana turned from her window, her heart racing. Finally, someone in authority was taking her work seriously. "Minister, the electromagnetic signatures are too regular to be natural phenomena. Someone is conducting systematic observations of our planet, using technology far beyond our current capabilities." Above the planet's atmosphere, Vextai reviewed the threat assessment protocols displayed on his command screen. The Zephyrian Collective had survived and thrived for millennia by carefully categorizing every species they encountered. Class 1 through Class 3 civilizations were pre-industrial and posed no threat. Class 4 and Class 5 species had achieved spaceflight, but remained confined to their home systems. Class 6 civilizations had developed interstellar travel, but lacked advanced weaponry. Class 7 and above required careful monitoring. "Their nuclear capabilities are concerning," Mordun reported, highlighting several missile installations across the planet's surface. Approximately 14,000 nuclear warheads distributed among 9 major powers. However, their delivery systems are limited to ballistic trajectories within their own system. Vextai's secondary arms manipulated the display controls, zooming in on human population centers. Massive cities sprawled across every continent, connected by networks of transportation that moved millions of beings daily. Population density suggests advanced resource management, but their power generation remains primitive. nuclear fission supplemented by fossil fuel combustion, no evidence of antimatter technology or zero-point energy extraction. Meanwhile, 3,000 kilometers away in the Swiss Alps, Park Min-ho was experiencing what he would later describe as the most important moment of his scientific career. The quantum research facility, buried deep beneath the mountains, housed humanity's most advanced experimental technology. For 18 months, his team had been working on quantum entanglement communication, trying to solve the problem of instantaneous information transfer across vast distances. "Dr. Park, look at this," his colleague Cho Min-ji called excitedly from across the laboratory. The quantum field generator was displaying readings that defied their previous understanding of physics. Park Min-ho rushed to her station, his pulse quickening as he studied the data. They had achieved stable quantum entanglement across a distance of 50 kilometers, maintaining perfect information synchronization for over 6 hours. The implications were staggering. If they could scale this technology, humanity could communicate instantaneously across interstellar distances. Neither scientist realized that their breakthrough was being observed by sensors capable of detecting quantum field fluctuations from light years away. Aboard the Zephyrian vessel, Vextai made his final determination. Classification: Sol 3 species designated as Class 7 low threat. Technological development rate suggests no significant advancement for at least 1,000 rotations. Recommendation: minimal observation schedule, 1 survey per 500. Rotations. The massive ship's organic drives pulsed with bioluminescent energy as it prepared to depart. Vextai's attention was already shifting to more pressing concerns. Intelligence reports indicated that the Manthari Republic was mobilizing their bioweapon fleets, and the collective needed every available vessel for the coming conflict. As Earth dwindled to a point of light in their wake, none of the Zephyrian crew could have imagined that the primitive species they had just dismissed would soon reshape the balance of power in their galaxy. The transformation began quietly, like most revolutions do. 20 Earth years had passed since the Zephyrian survey ship had dismissed humanity as harmless primitives. In that time, what the aliens considered barely a heartbeat, humans had rewritten the rules of technological advancement. Director Kim Hana stood in the command center of Lunar Station 7, watching the holographic display that showed humanity's new domain. The woman who had once been ignored by her colleagues now commanded Earth's most powerful military force. Grey streaks marked her black hair, and her eyes held the weight of secrets that could reshape civilizations. "Ma'am, the Titan mining operation is reporting another breakthrough," Captain Lee Jun announced from his station. The young officer had risen through the ranks faster than anyone in military history, his tactical brilliance earning him command of humanity's first interplanetary fleet at age 32. "They've extracted enough rare metals to build 12 more orbital defense platforms." The massive space station hummed with activity around them. Through the transparent aluminum viewports, Earth hung like a blue jewel against the star-filled void, surrounded by a constellation of human-built structures that would have amazed the Zephyrians. 7 massive orbital platforms ringed the planet, each one bristling with weapon systems and shield generators that drew power from clean fusion reactors. But the real revolution wasn't visible from space. Deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, engineer Cho Min-ji emerged from her laboratory after another 18-hour work session. Her hands were stained with metallic residue from the alien alloy she had been studying for 15 years. The fragment, no larger than her thumb, had been recovered from a crash site in the Siberian wilderness. Most people assumed it was just unusual meteorite debris, but Min-ji knew better. "The molecular structure is incredible," she whispered to her research partner, Dr. Song Jae-min. "Look at these crystalline patterns. The atoms are arranged in ways that shouldn't be possible according to our understanding of materials science." Jae-min studied the holographic model rotating above their workstation. The alien metal's atomic structure resembled a 3-dimensional puzzle, with each element interlocked in perfect harmony. "If we can replicate this arrangement using Earth materials, we'll have hull plating that's stronger than diamond but lighter than aluminum," Min-ji finished excitedly. "Our spacecraft could survive impacts that would destroy anything else in the galaxy." Their breakthrough came at 3 in the morning, when exhaustion had pushed their minds beyond conventional thinking. By combining rare Earth elements with precisely controlled electromagnetic fields, they managed to create a small sample of the alien alloy. The implications were staggering. Meanwhile, in Seoul's quantum research facility, physicist Jung Tae-ho was experiencing his own moment of triumph. The laboratory had grown from a small underground bunker to a complex that sprawled beneath half the city. Hundreds of scientists worked around the clock, pushing the boundaries of human understanding. "We've done it," Tae-ho announced to his team, his voice barely containing his excitement. "Stable quantum entanglement across interstellar distances. We can communicate instantly with our probes in the Alpha Centauri system." The quantum communication array resembled a massive spiderweb made of crystalline threads, each one vibrating with quantum energy. Unlike the crude radio signals that had once been humanity's only way to reach across space, this system could transmit complex data instantaneously across any distance. Young researcher Park Chae-won monitored the incoming signals from the outer solar system. "Dr. Jung, we're receiving telemetry from the Neptune probe. The quantum field readings are off the charts. There's something out there, something big." What they had discovered were the remnants of ancient battlefields where civilizations had fought and died millions of years ago. Scattered across the outer planets were fragments of technology so advanced that human scientists could barely comprehend their purpose. But comprehend them they did, piece by piece, breakthrough by breakthrough. The transformation wasn't limited to technology. Humanity itself was changing. The old divisions between nations began to fade as people realized they were part of something much larger. The Earth Defense Initiative, formed in response to Kim Hana's warnings about alien observation, had evolved into the Unified Space Command, representing all of humanity's interests beyond Earth. Captain Yoon Sung-min commanded the first truly interstellar human vessel, the explorer ship New Horizons. Built using Cho Min-ji's revolutionary hull materials and powered by fusion reactors that burned cleaner than any star, it could reach nearby star systems in months rather than centuries. Approaching the Proxima Centauri system, Sung-min reported. Through the quantum communicator, sensors are detecting artificial structures in orbit around the planet. They're old, maybe thousands of years, but the technology readings are incredible. Each discovery led to new questions, new possibilities. Human engineers reverse-engineered alien computers that processed information using quantum mechanics. Biologists studied alien organisms preserved in crystal stasis fields, learning how life could adapt to environments that would kill any Earth creature instantly. The pace of advancement accelerated beyond anything in human history. Children born after the first alien discoveries grew up in a world where interplanetary travel was routine, where robots built from alien designs worked alongside humans, and where the night sky was filled with the lights of human space stations. But not everyone was celebrating humanity's rapid ascent. Light years away, in the crystalline spires of the Zephyrian capital world, Supreme Admiral Vex Tai studied intelligence reports that painted a disturbing picture. The primitive species from Sol 3 had somehow acquired technology that rivaled the collective's most advanced systems. How was this possible? "Admiral, the Manthari biofleets have destroyed another sector," his aide Morden reported urgently. 300 billion lives lost in the Kepler region. Our conventional forces can't stop their advance. Vex Tai's multiple eyes focused on the tactical display, showing red markers spreading across Zephyrian space like a plague. The Manthari Republic had been the collective's greatest enemy for millennia, but their recent technological leaps had upset the balance of power. Their bioweapons could consume entire worlds, leaving only empty husks behind. The ancient Zephyrian military doctrine, unchanged for 1,000,000 years, was failing catastrophically. Their massive fleets moved in predictable formations, following strategies that had worked against every enemy they had ever faced. But the Manthari had evolved beyond those old patterns. Neither Vex Tai nor his commanders could have imagined that the solution to their crisis was developing on a small blue planet they had dismissed as insignificant. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their new technology or their impressive space fleets. It was something far more dangerous to established galactic powers. It was their refusal to accept that anything was impossible. Scout Captain Kelvarth adjusted his biosuit as his reconnaissance vessel glided through the outer edges of the Sol system. The sleek Zephyrian craft, designed for stealth observation, moved silently past Jupiter's massive bulk. His three-member crew barely looked up from their monitoring stations as they conducted what should have been a routine survey mission. "Another boring assignment," muttered his sensor operator Thaxmore, her bioluminescent patches flickering with annoyance. "Why are we wasting time on this backward system when the Manthari are burning entire sectors?" Kelvarth shared her frustration. 20 years had passed since the last survey, and he expected to find the same primitive civilization struggling with basic spaceflight. The war against the Manthari Republic was consuming every available resource, and reconnaissance ships like his should be gathering intelligence on enemy movements, not checking on harmless primitives. "Standard protocol," he replied wearily. "Update the threat assessment. Confirm they're still using chemical propulsion, file the report and get back to real military duties." His ship's organic sensors, grown from modified Zephyrian neural tissue, began their passive scan of the inner system. The readings that came back made no sense. "Captain," Thaxmore called out, her voice tight with confusion, "I'm detecting massive, artificial structures in planetary orbit. The energy signatures they're enormous." Kelvarth's attention snapped to the holographic display materializing above his command console. Where he expected to see a few crude metal stations, the scanner revealed a network of installations that dwarfed anything in Zephyrian space. 7 massive orbital platforms surrounded the blue-green planet, each one bristling with weapon arrays and shield generators. "Run a deep scan," he ordered, his mandibles clicking nervously. "This has to be sensor malfunction," but the readings remained consistent. The platforms were real, and they were powering up. Admiral Kim Hana stood in the command center of Lunar Defense Station, her silver hair catching the light from dozens of holographic displays. At 62, she moved with the confidence of someone who had spent decades preparing for this exact moment. The alert klaxons had awakened her from sleep, but her mind was already sharp and focused. "Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, approaching. From Jupiter's shadow," reported Lieutenant Choi Diho from the sensor station. "Hull configuration unknown. Propulsion system unlike anything in our databases." Kim Hana studied the alien vessel on the main screen. It was beautiful in an unsettling way, its surface flowing like liquid metal with no visible seams or joints. Bioluminescent patterns pulsed along its hull, creating intricate designs that seemed almost alive. 20 years, she whispered to herself. They finally came back. Captain Lee Jun, now her chief of operations, looked up from his tactical console. "Ma'am, all defense platforms are online. Quantum torpedo arrays are charged and ready." "No," Kim Hana said firmly. "This is first contact. We do this right." She activated her command interface, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. "Deploy Diplomatic Protocol 7. Launch the escort squadron." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Kelvarth watched in shock as space around his vessel suddenly filled with sleek human ships that seemed to materialize from empty vacuum. The vessels were unlike anything in the galactic database. Their hulls gleamed with an impossible metallic sheen, and their energy readings suggested power sources that rivaled Zephyrian dreadnoughts. "Stealth systems at full power," Kelvarth barked. "How are they detecting us?" "Sir, their sensors are penetrating our biocloak completely," Thaxmore reported, her voice filled with disbelief. "It's like we're completely visible to them." The lead human vessel moved with fluid grace, positioning itself directly in front of the Zephyrian scout ship. Kelvarth's communication array activated without any input from his crew, and a voice filled his bridge, speaking perfect, grammatically correct Zephyrian. "Greetings, unknown vessel. I am Commander Park Sung-ho of the Earth Defense Force. Welcome to our solar system. Please reduce your velocity and follow our escort ships to Diplomatic. Station Alpha for formal first contact procedures." Kelvarth's 6 eyes widened in shock. The primitive species was speaking his language flawlessly, using diplomatic terminology that suggested deep knowledge of galactic protocols. "This is impossible," he muttered, his claws gripping his command chair. "Sir, should we attempt to escape?" asked his pilot, Vecturan, his bioluminescent patches flashing with anxiety. Kelvarth studied the formation of human ships surrounding them. Each vessel bristled with weapon systems he couldn't identify, and their maneuvering capabilities suggested technology far beyond what any Class 7 civilization should possess. No, he decided. We're outnumbered and outgunned. Comply with their instructions. The journey to Diplomatic Station Alpha took 3 hours, giving Kelvarth time to study human technology up close. The escort ships moved with impossible precision, their engines producing no visible exhaust or energy signatures. Their quantum communication arrays were more sophisticated than anything the Zephyrian Collective had developed. The diplomatic station itself was a marvel of engineering. Built into a captured asteroid, it combined human architectural aesthetics with alien technology recovered from crash sites across the galaxy. Docking bays designed to accommodate ships from dozens of different civilizations lined its hull, while massive sensor arrays tracked every object within 1,000,000 kilometers. Dr. Yoon Seola waited in the main conference chamber, surrounded by walls covered in holographic displays showing star charts, technological specifications, and cultural data from across the galaxy. As Earth's leading xenoanthropologist, she had spent 20 years preparing for this moment. Kelvarth entered the chamber with his 2 crew members, their biosuits adapting to the human standard atmosphere. What he saw made his mandibles click with amazement. The humans had prepared detailed files on 17 different alien species, complete with biological data, technological assessments, and cultural profiles. Captain Kelvarth, Dr. Yoon Seola began, consulting a tablet that displayed his personnel. File from Zephyrian military records. Scout vessel designation Kethmaran, assigned to routine surveillance duties in Sector 7. I apologize for the dramatic reception, but we wanted to ensure proper first contact protocols. How do you know my name? Kelvarth asked, his voice barely a whisper. We've been monitoring galactic communications for years, she replied matter-of-factly. Your quantum communication networks aren't as secure as you think. We've also recovered technology from crash sites on 17 different worlds, giving us extensive knowledge of galactic civilizations. She activated a holographic display showing debris fields across human space. Wreckage from Zephyrian, Manthari, Kethvari, and 14 other species. Each crash site taught us something new about galactic technology and politics. Kelvarth stared at evidence that shouldn't exist. The humans had not only detected alien visitors, but had systematically studied and reverse-engineered their technology. They had built a comprehensive understanding of galactic civilization while remaining completely hidden from official observation. We know about the war, Dr. Yoon Seola continued. The Manthari bioweapon attacks, the fall of the Kepler sector, the failure of traditional Zephyrian military doctrine. We also know that your collective needs help. The humans are offering military assistance? Kelvarth asked incredulously. We're offering partnership, she corrected. Earth formally requests recognition as a spacefaring civilization and membership in the Galactic Collective. In return, we'll share our technological innovations and tactical insights. Kelvarth's communication implant activated, connecting him directly to Admiral Vex Tai on the Zephyrian homeworld. The Supreme Admiral's holographic image appeared, his expression shifting from annoyance to shock as he heard the conversation. Captain, you will return immediately for debriefing, Vex Tai ordered. This situation requires immediate analysis by our strategic command. Admiral, Dr. Yoon Seola interjected, with respect, your empire is losing the war against the Manthari. Your traditional tactics aren't working. Humanity offers something different, adaptability, innovation, and tactical approaches your enemy has never encountered. The hologram flickered as Vex Tai processed this information. The primitive species he had dismissed 20 years ago was now offering to save his civilization. Everything the Zephyrian Collective knew about humanity was not just wrong. It was catastrophically incomplete. The holographic message from Captain Kelvarth reached Admiral Vex Tai just as the emergency alarms began screaming throughout the Zephyrian capital. The Supreme Admiral's crystalline command chamber filled with red warning lights as his aide rushed in with devastating news. Sir, we've lost contact with the entire Kepler sector, Mordun reported, his bioluminescent patches flashing in distress. 17 star systems, over 300 billion lives. The Manthari bioweapons consumed everything. Vexatai watched the tactical display with growing horror. Red zones spread across the galactic map like an infection, marking worlds where Manthari plagues had reduced thriving civilizations to lifeless wastelands. The engineered viruses didn't just kill, they consumed organic matter at the molecular level, leaving behind only sterile rock and metal. How long until they reach the core worlds? He asked quietly. 6 rotations, maybe 7 if we can slow. Their advance, Morden replied. Our conventional fleets can't get close enough to engage. The bioweapons create defensive barriers that destroy any ship trying to approach. It was then that Kelvarth's message played, his words cutting through the despair like a blade of hope. Admiral, the humans have analyzed our entire military database. They claim they can stop the Manthari advance using tactics we've never considered. Vextai's mandibles clicked in disbelief. The species they had dismissed as Class 7 primitives was offering to save the Zephyrian collective from extinction. On Earth, the Situation Room in Lunar Command buzzed with activity as humanity's greatest military minds studied the galactic crisis. General Park Minho stood before a massive holographic display showing Manthari forces advancing through Zephyrian space like a plague of locusts. The former quantum physicist had traded his lab coat for a military uniform, his brilliant mind now focused on the art of war. Look at these battle formations, he said, highlighting the Zephyrian fleet movements. They're fighting the same way they have for thousands of years. Massive capital ships in linear formations, centralized command structures, predictable supply lines. It's like watching ancient Earth navies trying to fight modern warfare. Colonel O.G.1, a petite woman whose tactical genius had revolutionized human military doctrine, manipulated the display to show Manthari attack patterns. The bioweapons are their primary advantage, but look how they deploy them. Straight-line advances, methodical consumption of worlds, no variation in strategy. They've become as predictable as the Zephyrians. Admiral Kim Hana studied the data with the intensity that had made her Earth's most respected military leader. What do you recommend, General? Park Minho smiled grimly. We do what humans do best. We adapt, improvise, and break every rule in their playbook. The Manthari expect conventional warfare because that's all they've ever faced. We give them something completely different. The first joint planning session took place aboard the human flagship Aurora, a vessel that combined the best of human innovation with recovered alien technology. Zephyrian Admiral Kethnala, a veteran of 50 campaigns, found himself sitting across from humans who looked barely old enough to command a single ship, let alone reshape galactic warfare. Your proposal is unconventional, Kethnala said, diplomatically, studying the human battle plans. Attacking supply lines instead of engaging the main fleet, using small fast ships instead of capital vessels. This goes against every principle of civilized warfare. Captain Lee Jun, now commanding Earth's Rapid Response Fleet, leaned forward. Admiral, civilized warfare is exactly why you're losing. The Manthari have adapted to fight your civilization. They've never fought ours. She activated a holographic simulation showing human tactics in action. Instead of massive fleet engagements, small squadrons of human ships darted through enemy formations like schools of fish, striking critical targets and disappearing before the enemy could respond. Your dreadnoughts are impressive, Lee Jun continued, but they're also massive targets. Our ships are built for speed and stealth. We hit where they don't expect, when they don't expect it. The retrofit program began immediately. Human engineers swarmed over Zephyrian vessels, installing adaptive AI systems that could analyze enemy behavior and adjust tactics in real time. Captain Yoon Sung-min led the technical team that replaced rigid Zephyrian command protocols with flexible human decision-making algorithms. Your computers think in straight lines, Yoon Sung-min explained to his Zephyrian counterpart as they watched the installation process. Our AI systems think like humans, unpredictably, creatively, always, looking for the unexpected solution. The transformation was remarkable. Zephyrian dreadnoughts that had once moved in stately formations now darted through space with the agility of fighters. Their weapon systems, guided by human targeting computers, could engage multiple targets, simultaneously while continuously adapting to enemy countermeasures. But the real revolution was in command structure. Human military doctrine emphasized decentralized decision-making, where individual ship captains could adapt to changing situations without waiting for orders from above. This was completely alien to Zephyrian thinking, which had relied on rigid hierarchies for millions of years. "You're asking us to abandon everything we know about warfare," Admiral Kethnalar protested during one particularly heated strategy session. "We're asking you to survive," General Park Min-ho replied bluntly. "Your old ways are getting your people killed. Our ways might save them." The breakthrough came when human psychologists analyzed Manthari behavior patterns. Dr. Song Ji-young, Earth's leading expert on alien psychology, made a startling discovery while studying captured Manthari bioweapons. "They're not just weapons," she announced to the Joint Command Staff. "They're extensions of Manthari consciousness. Each bioweapon maintains a quantum link to the Manthari collective mind. If we can disrupt that connection, we can turn their own weapons against them," Park Min-ho finished, his eyes lighting up with understanding. The first test came during the Battle of Proxima Station, where a joint human-Zephyrian task force encountered a Manthari biofleet advancing on a refugee convoy. Instead of the traditional approach of engaging the main force, the human-led fleet split into dozens of small units that attacked from every direction simultaneously. Manthari War Leader. Vashtok watched in confusion as his perfectly organized advance dissolved into chaos. Ships that should have moved in predictable patterns suddenly appeared from impossible angles, striking his bioweapon carriers with weapons that seemed to adapt to his defenses in real time. "Impossible!" he screeched as another bioweapon platform exploded. "Their tactics make no sense. Where is their command structure? Why don't they follow logical attack patterns?" His aide, a grotesque creature bred specifically for tactical analysis, struggled to understand the human strategy. "War Leader, they seem to be improvising their attacks based on our responses. Each ship operates independently, but somehow coordinates with the others." The Manthari, who had evolved to counter traditional galactic warfare, found themselves completely unprepared for human unpredictability. Their bioweapons, designed to create defensive barriers against massed fleet attacks, were useless against small, fast-moving targets that struck from unexpected directions. Captain Lee Jun commanded the final phase of the battle from her flagship, watching as Zephyrian crews implemented human tactics with growing confidence. "All units, Phase 3, target their command nodes, but remember, no predictable attack patterns. Keep them guessing." The joint fleet's victory at Proxima Station sent shockwaves through both the Manthari Republic and the Zephyrian Collective. For the first time in the war, a Manthari biofleet had been completely destroyed without losing a single Allied vessel. In the aftermath, Admiral Vextai stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching human and Zephyrian crews working together to repair battle damage. The species he had once dismissed as primitive had just saved his civilization from extinction. "How did we miss this?" he asked himself quietly. The answer was simple and terrifying in its implications. The galaxy's great civilizations had become so focused on following established patterns that they had forgotten how to truly innovate. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their ships, it was their refusal to accept that anything was impossible. The Manthari Republic was about to learn this lesson the hard way. The final assault on the Zephyrian homeworld began in the most unexpected way possible. Instead of massive fleets clashing in the void of space, the liberation started in a small laboratory aboard the human research vessel Discovery, where Dr. Yoon Seola made a discovery that would change the course of galactic history. "Look at these neural patterns," she whispered to her team, studying the bioweapon samples they had captured during previous battles. The grotesque Manthari creatures pulsed with bioluminescent activity, even in death, their organic circuits still trying to communicate with their distant masters. Engineer Cho Minji leaned over her shoulder, analyzing the quantum frequency readings. "It's like a biological internet. Every bioweapon maintains a constant connection to the Manthari collective consciousness. They're not individual creatures. They're extensions of a single mind." The implications hit both women simultaneously. If the bioweapons were controlled by quantum neural frequencies, those same frequencies could be disrupted, redirected, or even reversed. "We can turn their own weapons against them," Yoon Seola breathed. Working around the clock, the human research team developed quantum transmitters capable of hijacking Manthari bioweapon networks. The devices were small enough to be mounted on fighter ships, but powerful enough to affect entire fleets of organic weapons. Meanwhile, the Manthari forces had completely surrounded the Zephyrian homeworld. War leader Vashtok commanded the largest biofleet in Manthari history from his flagship, a living vessel the size of a small moon. His victory seemed inevitable. The planet below held 3 trillion Zephyrian lives, and his bioweapons were already beginning their planetary bombardment. "Soon the collective's capital will be nothing but organic matter for our consumption," Vashtok declared to his assembled war council. His massive form, a nightmare fusion of insect and machine, pulsed with anticipation. But the attack never came. Instead, something unprecedented happened. The bioweapons surrounding the planet suddenly turned on each other, their organic cannons firing into Manthari formations instead of the planet below. "Impossible!" Vashtok shrieked, his compound, eyes reflecting the explosions as his own forces tore themselves apart. "Our neural networks are perfect. They cannot be compromised." From the bridge of the human flagship Defiance, General Park Min-ho watched the chaos unfold with grim satisfaction. "That's your problem, Vashtok," he transmitted directly to the sea. "Manthari command ship. You thought perfection meant never changing. Humans learned long ago that the ability to adapt beats perfection every single time." The joint human-Zephyrian fleet emerged from hyperspace, not in the massive formations that galactic warfare had used for millennia, but as hundreds of small, independent units. Each squadron operated with complete autonomy, following the human doctrine of decentralized command that had proven so effective against rigid enemy hierarchies. Captain Lee Jun led Strike Group Alpha in a daring assault on the Manthari communication nodes. Her ships, sleek vessels that combined human innovation with captured alien technology, moved like a pack of predators through the confused Manthari formations. "Remember, stay unpredictable," she broadcast to her pilots. "Hit them where they don't expect when they don't expect it. No formation flying, no textbook maneuvers." The human fighters danced through space with deadly grace, their AI-assisted targeting systems adapting to enemy movements faster than any biological reflexes could counter. They struck at supply ships, command vessels, and communication arrays, while avoiding the massive bioweapon platforms that had been designed to counter traditional fleet tactics. Admiral Vextai, commanding the Zephyrian portion of the joint fleet, watched in amazement as human tactical doctrine unraveled an empire that had dominated this region of space for over 1 billion years. His own ships, now equipped with human adaptive systems, moved with an agility that would have been impossible under traditional Zephyrian command protocols. "Strike Team Beta, target those bioprocessing stations," he ordered, his voice carrying newfound confidence. "Remember the human principles: speed, surprise, and constant adaptation." The Manthari, who had evolved over millions of years to counter every known form of galactic warfare, found themselves completely helpless against humanity's creative chaos. Their bioweapons, bred to create impenetrable defensive barriers, were useless against enemies that refused to attack where expected. Young pilot Kim Tae-hyun, flying his first combat mission, found himself facing a Manthari biocruiser 10 times the size of his fighter. Instead of retreating, he did something no Manthari tactical computer could predict. He flew directly at the enemy ship, using its own massive size against it. "Fox 2, going for the neural cluster," he reported calmly, diving into the biocruiser's organic canyons. His ship's weapons, designed to disrupt biological systems, fired directly into the creature's brain centers. The massive biocruiser convulsed and died, its neural networks fried by weapons it had never been designed to resist. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out as human creativity met Manthari predictability. Every time the alien bioweapons adapted to human tactics, the humans simply changed their approach entirely. War leader Vashitok watched his perfect empire crumbling around him. His bioweapons, the culmination of millions of years of evolutionary warfare, were being systematically destroyed by creatures that had been in space for less than a century. "How is this possible?" he demanded of his tactical analysts. "They have no discernible strategy. Their attacks follow no logical pattern." "That appears to be their strategy, war leader," his aide replied helplessly. "They seem to thrive on unpredictability itself." The final blow came when Dr. Yun Seola's quantum transmitters achieved full synchronization with the Manthari bioweapon network. Across the entire star system, organic weapons turned against their creators in a cascade of friendly fire that devastated the Manthari fleet. Vashtok's flagship, surrounded by his own rebellious bioweapons, had no choice but to surrender. The war that had consumed the galaxy for decades ended not with a massive explosion, but with a simple transmission. "This is war leader Vashdok of the Manthari Republic," the message read. "We surrender unconditionally to the Human-Zephyrian Alliance." In the aftermath of victory, Admiral Kim Hana stood on the observation deck of her flagship, watching human and Zephyrian crews working together to rescue survivors from both sides of the conflict. At 75, she had lived to see humanity take its place among the stars. Admiral Vextai joined her, his ancient eyes reflecting the lights of the liberated homeworld below. "Admiral Hana, we owe you a debt that spans generations. How can the collective ever repay what humanity has done for us?" Kim Hana smiled, her weathered face showing the wisdom of someone who had guided her species through its greatest challenge. "We don't want repayment, Admiral. We want partnership. The galaxy is vast and full of wonders we can't even imagine. Together, our species can face whatever challenges await us among the stars." The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in recorded history. Representatives from thousands of civilizations gathered to witness humanity's formal recognition as a spacefaring species. Earth's Class 7 low-threat designation was not just retired, it was deleted from the archives entirely. In its place, humanity received something unprecedented in galactic history. They became the youngest species ever granted full council membership, with additional recognition as tactical advisors to the entire galactic community. Council President Morvek, an ancient being whose species had been exploring space for 50 million years, addressed the assembly with words that would echo through history. "Today, we have learned that wisdom does not always come with age, and that the newest voices among us may carry the solutions to our oldest problems. Humanity has shown us that innovation, adaptability, and the courage to challenge established ways of thinking are more valuable than any weapon or technology." As news of humanity's role in ending the Manthari War spread across the galaxy, one thing became absolutely clear to every civilization from the galactic core to the outer rim territories. Underestimating the species from the small blue world orbiting an unremarkable yellow star was a mistake that no one would ever make again. The humans had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. The end.